The stagecoach rattled into Nebraska City on a bitter March afternoon in 1876, and Olivia Sutton stepped down onto the dusty street with nothing but a worn carpetbag and scars no one could see. She had learned at 19 that love meant fists in the darkness, whispered apologies that rang hollow, and eventually a knife that came too close to ending everything. The bruises had faded during her journey west from Philadelphia, but the marks on her soul remained fresh as open wounds. Nebraska City sprawled along the Missouri River, a bustling frontier town that served as a jumping-off point for settlers heading deeper into the territories. The main street teemed with activity despite the lingering chill in the air. Freight wagons rumbled past, their drivers calling out to one another. Women in practical calico dresses hurried between the general store and the butcher shop. The smell of fresh-cut lumber mixed with horse manure and wood smoke, creating an odor distinctly different from the coal-soaked air of Philadelphia. Olivia pulled her shawl tighter and consulted the crumpled letter in her pocket. Her Aunt Martha had written 6 months ago, offering her a position helping in the boarding house she ran near the river. It had taken Olivia 4 months to gather the courage and money to leave, to slip away while Thomas was working at the shipyard. She had left no note, no forwarding address. She simply vanished, praying the distance between Pennsylvania and Nebraska would be enough to keep her safe. The boarding house stood on the corner of 3rd and Main, a 2-story wooden structure painted a cheerful yellow that seemed at odds with Olivia's gray mood. She climbed the steps to the wide front porch and knocked, her heart hammering against her ribs. What if her aunt had changed her mind? What if there was no room for her after all? The door swung open to reveal a sturdy woman in her 50s with graying brown hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. "Olivia, land sakes, child, you look half-starved. Come in, come in." Martha Sutton pulled her niece into a warm embrace that made Olivia stiffen instinctively. She had learned to associate physical contact with pain. Martha seemed to sense her discomfort and released her quickly, though concern flickered across her face. "The journey was long," Olivia said softly, offering the only explanation she could manage. "I imagine so. Come, let me show you to your room and then you can have some supper. I have a good beef stew on the stove and fresh bread from this morning." The boarding house hummed with quiet activity. Olivia caught glimpses of other residents as Martha led her up the narrow staircase. An older gentleman with spectacles perched on his nose nodded politely from the parlor. 2 women conversed in low tones near the kitchen entrance. Everything felt orderly, peaceful, safe. Martha showed her to a small room on the 2nd floor that overlooked the street. It contained a narrow bed with a colorful quilt, a washstand with a chipped porcelain basin, a simple wooden chair, and hooks on the wall for hanging clothes. To Olivia, who had spent the last 2 years walking on eggshells in Thomas's cramped apartment, it looked like paradise. "It is not much, but it is yours," Martha said. "You can rest today and settle in. Tomorrow I will show you the routine, mostly cooking and cleaning, some laundry. The boarders are good folk, respectful. I do not tolerate any nonsense under my roof." "Thank you, Aunt Martha." Olivia's voice caught. "You cannot know what this means to me." Martha studied her with those perceptive eyes. "I know more than you might think, child. Your mother and I grew up in the same house. I saw what our father's temper did to her spirit. When you wrote last year saying you were engaged, something in your letter troubled me. And when months went by with no word after the wedding, I worried." Olivia looked away, blinking back tears. "It was a mistake. The engagement, the marriage, all of it. I thought I loved him. I thought he loved me, but love is not supposed to hurt the way it did." "No," Martha agreed quietly. "True love never hurts, Olivia. It heals. You remember that." Those words echoed in Olivia's mind as she unpacked her few belongings and prepared for her first night in Nebraska City. True love heals. She wanted desperately to believe it, but her experience had taught her otherwise. Love was a trap, a pretty lie that men told to gain control over women's hearts and bodies. She was done with love. She would work, save her money, and build a life that belonged only to herself. The next morning, Olivia woke before dawn to the sound of roosters crowing in someone's backyard. She dressed quickly in a simple gray dress and white apron, then made her way downstairs to help Martha prepare breakfast for the boarders. The kitchen was large and well-equipped, with a massive cast iron stove that radiated heat into the chilly room. Martha was already mixing biscuit dough, her movements efficient and practiced. "Good, you are up," Martha said. "Can you fry the bacon while I get these in the oven?" "We have 8 boarders currently, and they all expect a hearty breakfast by 6 o'clock." Olivia set to work, grateful for the distraction of familiar tasks. She had always enjoyed cooking, finding peace in the precise measurements and predictable outcomes. Thomas had criticized everything she made, but she pushed those memories aside and focused on the sizzling bacon. The boarders began filtering into the dining room as the sun rose, turning the sky outside shades of pink and gold. Martha introduced Olivia to each of them. There was Mr. Henderson, a banker with impeccable manners. Mrs. Yates and her sister Mrs. Crawford, both widows who spent their days doing needlework. Young Timothy Walsh, a clerk at the land office who could not have been more than 22. Mr. and Mrs. Brennan, newlyweds who were saving money to buy their own homestead. And 2 railroad workers, brothers named Jack and Samuel Porter. All of them greeted Olivia politely, but she kept her eyes downcast and her responses brief. She served the food quickly and retreated to the kitchen, where she felt safer behind the familiar barrier of work. "They are a bit much all at once," Martha said gently as Olivia began washing dishes. "But you will grow accustomed to them. They are good people." "I am sure they are," Olivia replied, scrubbing a plate with more force than necessary. "I am just not ready for conversation yet. Take your time, child. Healing cannot be rushed." The days fell into a comfortable rhythm. Olivia rose early to help with breakfast, spent the morning cleaning rooms and doing laundry, prepared lunch, and then had the afternoons relatively free until it was time to start supper. She kept to herself, speaking only when necessary, finding solace in the predictable routine. 2 weeks after her arrival, Martha sent her to the general store with a list of supplies. Olivia had ventured out only a handful of times, and each excursion left her anxious and exhausted. The bustling streets of Nebraska City overwhelmed her. Every tall man with dark hair made her heart race, even though she knew Thomas could not possibly have followed her this far. The general store was crowded with Saturday shoppers. Olivia clutched her list and basket, trying to navigate through the press of bodies. She was examining a bolt of fabric when someone bumped her hard from behind, sending her stumbling forward. Strong hands caught her arms, steadying her, and she looked up into the bluest eyes she had ever seen. "Whoa there, madam. Are you all right?" The man who had caught her stood well over 6 feet tall, with sun-bleached brown hair that curled slightly at his collar and a face weathered by sun and wind. He wore typical cowboy attire: worn denim pants, a faded blue shirt, scuffed boots, and a brown hat that he had tipped back on his head. A bandana hung loose around his neck, but it was his eyes that caught Olivia's attention, eyes the color of a summer sky and filled with genuine concern. "I am fine," she said quickly, jerking away from his touch. Her heart pounded, but not entirely from fear. Something about his gentle grip had been different, careful, as though she were something precious that might break. "Sorry about that," he continued, gesturing to the crowd. Saturday brings out half the county, seems like. Are you sure you are not hurt? I am certain. Please excuse me. Olivia turned away, focusing intently on the fabric as though it held the secrets of the universe. She could feel him lingering nearby, could sense his eyes on her, but after a moment he moved away. She released a breath she had not realized she was holding. She finished her shopping as quickly as possible and hurried back to the boarding house, trying to forget those blue eyes and the unexpected gentleness in his touch. She did not want to notice men. She especially did not want to notice cowboys with kind faces and careful hands. That path led only to pain, but over the next few days, she found her thoughts returning to the encounter despite her best efforts. She scolded herself for being foolish. One moment of gentleness meant nothing. Thomas had been gentle too in the beginning. He had brought her flowers and written her poetry. He had kissed her hands and called her his angel. And then, 3 months after the wedding, he had struck her for the first time because his supper was cold. The angel had become a devil in his eyes, deserving of punishment for every imagined slight. No, Olivia told herself firmly. She would not make that mistake again. Spring arrived in full force, transforming Nebraska City into a riot of green growth and blooming wildflowers. The boarding house seemed to expand with the warmer weather. Martha opened all the windows to let in fresh air. The boarders lingered on the front porch in the evenings, enjoying the mild temperatures. And Olivia found herself slowly, cautiously beginning to relax. She started taking walks in the late afternoon when her chores were finished. Martha encouraged this, saying the exercise and fresh air would do her good. Olivia discovered a path along the river where she could walk for an hour without seeing many people. The Missouri flowed wide and brown, carrying debris and the occasional steamboat heading south. Cottonwood trees lined the banks, their leaves rustling in the constant wind. It was on one of these walks, about a month after her arrival, that she encountered the blue-eyed cowboy again. He was sitting on a fallen log near the water's edge, whittling something from a piece of wood. His horse, a handsome bay gelding, grazed nearby. When he heard her footsteps on the path, he looked up and smiled. "Afternoon, madam. Beautiful day, is it not?" Olivia froze, torn between the urge to flee and the unexpected desire to stay. Something about his relaxed posture and easy smile disarmed her. He made no move to stand or approach, simply sat there with his whittling knife in one hand and the wood in the other. "Yes, it is," she managed, prepared to walk on. "I saw you at the general store a few weeks back," he said conversationally. "Hope you were not bruised from that bumping around. Saturdays are a hazard in there." "I was fine." She hesitated, curiosity getting the better of her caution. "What are you making?" He held up the wood, which was beginning to take the shape of a bird. "A meadowlark, I think, or trying to be anyway. I am better with horses than I am with wood carving, but it passes the time." Despite herself, Olivia took a few steps closer. The carving showed surprising detail, the curve of the wing, the tilt of the head. "It is very good. Thank you kindly." He set the carving aside and stood, brushing wood shavings from his pants. "I am being rude, not introducing myself. Name is Cole Mitchell. I work at the Mitchell Ranch about 5 miles west of town. My father owns it and my brother and I help run it." "Olivia Sutton," she replied automatically, then immediately regretted giving her name. "Pleasure to meet you properly, Miss Sutton. Are you new to Nebraska City?" "I have lived here all my life, and I know most folks by sight at least." "Mrs. Sutton," she corrected quietly. "And yes, I am new. I came from Pennsylvania to help my aunt with her boarding house." She saw surprise flicker across his face at the misses, but he recovered quickly. "Well, welcome to Nebraska. It is a good place if you do not mind the wind and the occasional grasshopper plague." He smiled again, a warm expression that reached his eyes. "Your husband is a lucky man getting to start fresh out here with you." "My husband is dead," Olivia said flatly. The lie came easier than the truth. A widow received sympathy. A woman who had run from her marriage received suspicion and judgment. Cole's expression shifted immediately to one of concern and sympathy. "I am so sorry, madam. That must be a terrible burden to carry. I hope Nebraska City treats you kindly as you rebuild your life." There was such genuine compassion in his voice that Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely. "Thank you. I should return to the boarding house. My aunt will be expecting me." "Of course. Maybe I will see you walking here again sometime. It is a nice path, real peaceful." Olivia nodded and hurried away, her heart racing. She should not have spoken to him. She should not have told him anything about herself. But something about Cole Mitchell made her want to trust, and that terrified her more than anything. Over the following weeks, she encountered Cole 3 more times on her walks. Each time, he was respectful and friendly, never pushing for more conversation than she seemed comfortable giving. He told her about the ranch, about the cattle they raised and the horses they broke. He spoke with obvious love about the land, about watching storms roll across the prairie, and the way the grass turned gold in autumn. He mentioned his family. His father William, his mother Caroline, his younger brother Cameron, who was 22 and still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. Olivia found herself looking forward to these chance encounters, though she would never have admitted it aloud. Cole had a way of talking that required nothing from her but listening. He did not pry into her past or ask uncomfortable questions. He simply shared pieces of his life as though they were gifts he was offering without expectation of return. One warm afternoon in early May, she arrived at her usual spot along the river to find Cole standing beside his horse, looking distressed. A young calf lay in the grass nearby, clearly injured. "What happened?" Olivia asked, her natural compassion overriding her caution. "Found her tangled in some old wire fencing someone abandoned," Cole said grimly. "Got her out, but her leg is torn up pretty bad. I need to get her back to the ranch, but I do not want to cause more damage moving her wrong." Olivia set down the small basket she had been carrying and knelt beside the calf. The animal's left foreleg bore several deep gashes, but mercifully no bone seemed broken. The calf rolled her eyes in fear, her breathing rapid and shallow. "You have clean water?" Olivia asked. Cole produced a canteen from his saddle. "Always. And something I can use for bandaging." He pulled out a clean shirt from his saddlebag. "Will this work?" Olivia nodded and set to work, moving with confidence born from years of patching up injuries. Her father had been a physician in Philadelphia before his death, and she had often helped him treat patients. She cleaned the wounds carefully while speaking in low, soothing tones to the calf. Cole watched in amazement as the animal gradually calmed under Olivia's gentle ministrations. "You have a gift," he said quietly. "She trusts you." "Animals are easier than people," Olivia replied without thinking. "They are honest about their pain. They do not hide it behind smiles and pretty words." She felt Cole's eyes on her but did not look up as she finished bandaging the leg with strips torn from his shirt. "There. She should heal if the wounds stay clean. Keep her penned for a few weeks so she does not run on it." "Thank you, Olivia." The sound of her name on his lips sent an unexpected shiver through her. "You likely saved her life. Can I give you a ride back to town? As thanks?" "No." The word came out sharper than she intended. The thought of being on a horse with him, of being that close, made panic rise in her throat. "I mean no thank you, I prefer to walk." Cole studied her for a long moment, and she saw understanding dawn in those blue eyes. He knows, she thought. Somehow he knows I am afraid. All right, he said gently. But at least let me walk with you part of the way. I would feel better knowing you got back safe. They walked in silence for a while, Cole leading his horse with the calf draped carefully across the saddle. Finally, he spoke. Olivia, I hope you do not mind me saying this, but I want you to know something. Not all men are the same. Whatever your husband did, whatever happened between you two, it does not have to define every man you meet. Olivia stopped walking, her whole body rigid. You know nothing about my marriage. You are right, I do not. And I am not asking you to tell me. I just want you to know that some of us would rather cut off our own hand than raise it to a woman. My pa taught me that the measure of a man is how he treats those weaker than himself, and any man who uses his strength to harm instead of protect is not worthy of the name. Tears streamed down Olivia's face before she could stop them. He said he loved me, she whispered. He said I made him do it, that if I was a better wife he would not get so angry, and I believed him. I tried so hard to be perfect, to never give him reason to lose his temper, but it was never enough. Nothing was ever enough. Cole stood very still, his face pale. Olivia, listen to me. That is a lie. None of it was your fault. A man who truly loves a woman cherishes her, protects her. He does not hurt her and then blame her for his cruelty. Your husband was a coward and a liar. He is not dead, she said suddenly, the truth spilling out. I lied. I ran away from him. He might be looking for me right now. Then we will keep you safe, Cole said with quiet intensity. I promise you, Olivia, you are not alone anymore. Something in his voice, in the fierce protectiveness she saw in his eyes, made her want to believe him. But belief was dangerous. Trust led to vulnerability, and vulnerability led to pain. She had learned that lesson too well. I should go, she said, wiping her eyes. Please do not tell anyone what I told you. Your secrets are safe with me, Cole promised. But Olivia, if you ever need help, if you are ever in trouble, you come find me. The Mitchell Ranch, 5 miles west on the main road. Anyone in town can give you directions. Day or night, you come find me if you need help. She nodded, not trusting her voice, and hurried away. But as she walked back to the boarding house, she felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. It took her a while to recognize it. Hope. After that conversation, Olivia stopped taking her walks along the river. The vulnerability of that moment terrified her. She had revealed too much, had allowed Cole to see her wounds. She threw herself into her work at the boarding house, scrubbing floors that did not need scrubbing and reorganizing cupboards that were already perfectly neat. Martha watched with concern but said nothing for several days. Finally, on a quiet afternoon when the boarders were all out, she cornered Olivia in the kitchen. All right, child, what has you so spooked? You have been jumping at shadows for a week now. Olivia kept her eyes on the potatoes she was peeling. I am fine. You are many things, Olivia Sutton, but fine is not one of them. Did something happen? Did someone threaten you? No, nothing like that. Olivia set down the knife and faced her aunt. I met someone. A man. He was kind to me and I told him things I should not have. I told him about Thomas. Martha's eyebrows rose. And this frightens you, why? Because he showed you kindness. Because kindness is how it starts, Olivia said desperately. Thomas was kind too in the beginning. He made me feel special, cherished, and then he owned me and the kindness turned to cruelty. I cannot go through that again. I cannot. Oh, sweetheart. Martha pulled her into an embrace, and this time Olivia did not pull away. She clung to her aunt and let herself cry, great heaving sobs that had been building for months. Not every kind man is hiding a monster underneath. Some men are simply good, through and through. It sounds like you might have met one of those. How can I know? Olivia asked through her tears. How can I ever trust my judgment again when I was so wrong about Thomas? You were young and inexperienced, Martha said firmly. Thomas was a practiced manipulator, but you are stronger now, wiser, and you have me here, and I am an excellent judge of character. Who is this man who has you so frightened? His name is Cole Mitchell. He works at his family's ranch. Martha pulled back with a surprised smile. The Mitchell Ranch. I know the Mitchells. They have been here since Nebraska City was founded. William Mitchell is an honest man who has helped many a settler get started. I have met his sons a few times in town. The older one, Cole, has always struck me as decent and respectful. If he is the one showing you kindness, I would say your instincts are sound. You think I should trust him. I think you should not run from the possibility of happiness because of past pain, Martha said gently. I am not saying throw yourself at the man. I am saying do not punish him for another man's sins. Give him a chance to prove himself at his own pace and yours, and if he proves unworthy, you walk away. But at least give him the chance. Olivia wanted to argue, but deep down she knew her aunt was right. She had been punishing Cole for Thomas's crimes. And the truth was, some small part of her wanted to believe that love could be different, could be healing instead of harmful. She was just terrified of being wrong again. The next afternoon, steeling her courage, she returned to the river path. Cole was not there, and she felt a confusing mixture of relief and disappointment. She walked for an hour, enjoying the warmth of the May sunshine and the chorus of birdsong from the trees. Just as she was about to turn back, she heard hoofbeats and turned to see Cole riding toward her on his bay horse. He reined in a respectful distance away and touched his hat brim. "Afternoon, Olivia. I am glad to see you. I worried I had scared you off." "You did," she admitted. "But I am trying to be less afraid." Cole dismounted and walked his horse beside her as she continued down the path. "That takes courage, more courage than most folks have. I admire that." "How is the calf?" Olivia asked, eager to change the subject. "Healing beautifully, thanks to you." "My ma says you must have some medical training the way you handled those wounds. I told her you were full of surprises." "My father was a physician. I learned from watching him." She paused. "Your mother knows about me." "I told my family I met a woman who helped save a calf," Cole said carefully. "I did not share anything you told me in confidence. But my ma has been after me and Cameron to settle down for years now, so when I mentioned a woman, she got ideas. Fair warning, if you meet her, she will probably be sizing you up as potential daughter-in-law material. It is nothing personal. She does it to every unmarried woman within a 50-mile radius." Despite her nervousness, Olivia laughed. The sound surprised her. She had not laughed in months. Warned and prepared. They walked together for a while, talking about inconsequential things. Cole told her about breaking a particularly stubborn horse that week. Olivia described the new boarders who had arrived at Martha's, a family heading west to Oregon who were resting in Nebraska City for a few weeks. The conversation flowed naturally, without pressure or expectation. As they neared the edge of town, Cole said carefully, "Olivia, would you consider letting me court you? Proper-like, I mean. I could call on you at the boarding house with your aunt present. We could take walks together, maybe attend a church social or a town dance. I know you have reasons to be cautious, and I respect that. But I would like the chance to show you that not all men are like the one who hurt you." Olivia's first instinct was to refuse, to protect herself behind walls that had kept her safe. But she looked at Cole, really looked at him, and saw only sincerity in those blue eyes. Martha's words echoed in her mind, "Do not punish him for another man's sins." "I need to go slowly," she said finally. "Very slowly. And if I say no to something, I need you to respect that without question." "Absolutely," Cole agreed immediately. You set the pace and I will follow. If you tell me to back off, I back off. No arguments, no pressure. Your comfort and safety come first always." "Then yes," Olivia said, her heart hammering. "You may call on me. But Cole, I need you to understand something. I am damaged. I have scars that might never fully heal. I might never be the woman you think I am." Cole stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "Olivia, you are not damaged. You are hurt, and that is different. Damaged things are broken beyond repair. Hurt things can heal, given time and care and patience, and I have plenty of all three." Those words wrapped around Olivia's heart like a warm blanket. For the first time since she fled Philadelphia, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, Cole was right. Maybe love could heal instead of harm. Maybe she could learn to trust again. Cole began calling on Olivia 3 times a week, always in the evening after supper, always with Martha present as chaperone. He would sit in the boarding house parlor and tell stories that made Olivia smile. He brought her small gifts: wildflowers picked from the prairie, a pretty rock he found by the river, a book of poetry he thought she might enjoy. Nothing expensive or elaborate, just thoughtful tokens that showed he was thinking of her. Olivia found herself looking forward to these visits with increasing anticipation. Cole was unfailingly patient, never pushing for physical affection beyond occasionally holding her hand. Even that had taken 3 weeks to work up to, and he had asked permission first. "May I hold your hand?" He had asked one evening as they sat on the porch swing. Olivia had tensed immediately, fear flashing through her. But Cole had simply waited, his hand extended palm up in invitation rather than demand. The choice was entirely hers. She had placed her hand in his, marveling at the gentleness of his grip. His hand was calloused from hard work but warm and steady. He had not grabbed or squeezed, just held her hand like it was something precious. Martha approved wholeheartedly of the courtship. She would sit in the parlor with her knitting, pretending not to listen to their conversation but occasionally interjecting comments that made both Cole and Olivia laugh. In June, Cole invited Olivia to visit the Mitchell Ranch. "No pressure," he assured her. "But I would like you to meet my family properly and see where I work. Plus, my ma has been threatening to ride into town and drag you out here herself if I do not bring you soon." Olivia agreed, though nerves fluttered in her stomach the entire wagon ride out of town. The Mitchell Ranch sprawled across rolling prairie, with a large barn, several corrals, a bunkhouse for ranch hands, and a 2-story house that looked solid and welcoming. Cattle grazed in distant pastures, and horses ran in a large paddock near the barn. Cole's mother, Caroline, came out to greet them before the wagon had even fully stopped. She was a handsome woman in her early 50s with the same blue eyes as Cole and an open, friendly face. "You must be Olivia. We are so pleased to finally meet you. Cole has talked of nothing else for weeks." She pulled Olivia into a warm hug that somehow did not feel overwhelming, then held her at arm's length. "And as pretty as a picture. Come in, come in. I have lemonade and fresh cookies." William Mitchell was a quieter presence but no less welcoming. He shook Olivia's hand with a firm but gentle grip and said he was pleased to have her at their home. Cameron, Cole's younger brother, bounded in from the barn with all the enthusiasm of a puppy, grinning widely, and immediately starting to tell embarrassing stories about Cole's childhood. "Remember when you were 12 and tried to impress that girl from church by riding that wild Mustang Pa told you not to go near," Cameron said, laughing. "You got thrown into the water trough in front of everyone." "I was hoping we could skip that story," Cole said dryly, though his eyes sparkled with amusement. Olivia found herself relaxing despite her initial nervousness. The Mitchell family had an easy warmth that reminded her of her own family before her father died. They teased each other with obvious affection and included her naturally in their conversation. Caroline showed her the house while the men went to check on some horses, chattering about the history of the ranch and asking Olivia about her life in Pennsylvania. Over supper, William shared stories about the early days of Nebraska City, when it was little more than a trading post. "We have watched this place grow from wilderness to civilization," he said. "Built this ranch from nothing but hope and hard work. It is a good life, if you do not mind the uncertainty. The weather, the market prices, the constant work, but I would not trade it for anything. Pa is trying to make sure you know what you would be getting into if you married Cole," Cameron said with his typical bluntness, earning a sharp look from his mother. "Cameron Mitchell, you mind your manners." But Cole just laughed. "He is not wrong, Ma, though he could be more subtle about it." He turned to Olivia, his expression serious. "This is my life, Olivia. The ranch, the work, the uncertainty. I know it is not an easy life, but it is an honest one, and I am proud of what we have built here." Olivia looked around the table at the Mitchell family, at their sun-weathered faces and calloused hands, at the obvious love and respect they had for one another. This was real, she thought. This was what family was supposed to look like. Not perfect, but honest and caring and safe. "I think it is a wonderful life," she said quietly. "You should be proud." The approval in Cole's eyes warmed her from the inside out. As summer deepened, Cole and Olivia's courtship progressed slowly but steadily. He took her on picnics by the river, always careful to choose spots where other people were visible so she would not feel trapped or isolated. They attended a 4th of July celebration in town, watching fireworks paint the night sky while Cole held her hand. They went to church together on Sundays, sitting in the Mitchell family pew while the congregation sang hymns and the reverend preached about love and forgiveness. Olivia found herself thinking about forgiveness often. Not forgiveness for Thomas, who did not deserve it, but forgiveness for herself. She had spent so long blaming herself for his violence, for not being good enough or trying hard enough. Cole's patience and gentleness were teaching her that she had never been the problem. Thomas's cruelty was his failing, not hers. One warm evening in late July, Cole suggested they take a walk after his usual visit. Martha shooed them out with a knowing smile, and they strolled through the quiet streets of Nebraska City. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting everything gold and amber. "I love this time of day," Cole said, tucking Olivia's hand into the crook of his elbow. She had grown comfortable with these small touches, no longer flinching when he came near. "Everything feels peaceful, like the whole world is taking a breath." "It is beautiful," Olivia agreed. They had reached the edge of town, where the buildings gave way to open prairie. "Cole, can I ask you something? Anything?" "Why me?" The question had been building in her for weeks. "You could court any woman in Nebraska City. Women who are whole, who do not come with broken pieces and painful pasts. Why choose someone as complicated as me?" Cole stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression tender. "Olivia, you are not complicated. You are real. Most people go through life wearing masks, pretending to be what they think others want them to be. But you do not do that. You are honest about your pain, your fear, your scars. That takes incredible courage. And every time you trust me a little more, every time you let me see deeper into who you really are, I fall more in love with the woman I find there." Olivia's breath caught. "You love me." "I do," Cole said simply. "I have loved you since that day by the river when you saved that calf. I watched you tend to a frightened, injured creature with such gentleness and skill, and I thought, this is a woman worth knowing, and every moment since has only confirmed that first impression." You are strong, Olivia, stronger than you know. And I would be honored to spend my life showing you just how extraordinary you are. Tears streamed down Olivia's face, but for once they were not tears of pain or fear. I do not know if I can say those words back yet, she whispered. I want to. I feel something for you that terrifies me because it is so intense. But I am afraid to call it love because the last time I said those words, they led to so much pain. Then do not say them, Cole said gently, reaching up to wipe her tears with his thumb. Not until you are ready. Not until you are certain. I'm not going anywhere, Olivia. I will wait as long as you need. She looked up at this man who had somehow slipped past her defenses, who had shown her through patience and kindness that love did not have to mean pain, and she made a decision. Rising on her toes, she pressed her lips to his in a soft, tentative kiss. Cole froze for just a moment, as though afraid to move and break the spell. Then his arms came around her, gentle and protective, holding her close as he kissed her back with exquisite tenderness. There was no demand in his kiss, no expectation of more, just sweetness and promise and hope. When they pulled apart, Olivia was trembling, but not from fear, from possibility. I am trying to heal, she said softly, and I think maybe you are helping me do that. Cole rested his forehead against hers. Then we will heal together, because loving you has healed parts of me I did not even know were broken. The late summer heat settled over Nebraska City like a blanket, bringing with it long days and warm nights filled with cricket song. Olivia had been in Nebraska for 5 months now, and the frightened woman who arrived on the stagecoach felt like a distant memory. She still had difficult days, moments when shadows from her past crept in and made her anxious. But increasingly, she had good days too. Days when she laughed freely and looked toward the future with hope instead of dread. Cole continued his patient courtship, though their relationship had deepened considerably since that first kiss. They stole moments together whenever they could. Sometimes he would appear at the boarding house kitchen door in the middle of the afternoon, with some excuse about needing to pick up supplies, just so he could see her smile. Other times she would walk out to the ranch and find him working with the horses, and he would drop everything to spend time with her. The physical intimacy between them grew slowly, carefully, always at Olivia's pace. Cole never pushed, never demanded. He waited for her to initiate each new step, whether it was holding hands, kissing, or simply sitting close together. She loved him for that patience, though she still had not spoken those words aloud. One afternoon in August, Olivia was helping Martha hang laundry in the backyard when a stranger rode up to the boarding house. He was a rough-looking man with cold eyes and a cruel set to his mouth. Something about him made Olivia's blood run cold. "Can I help you?" Martha called out, her tone friendly but cautious. "Looking for my wife," the man said, his eyes scanning the yard. "She ran off from Philadelphia some months back. Got word she might have ended up in Nebraska City. Woman named Olivia, dark hair, about this tall." He held his hand up to indicate Olivia's height. Olivia felt the world tilt. Thomas. He had found her. She stood frozen, a sheet clutched in her hands, unable to move or speak. Martha, bless her, did not so much as glance in Olivia's direction. "Lots of women named Olivia in the world," Martha said calmly. "And this is a busy boarding house. People come and go all the time. Have you tried the land office? They keep records of new arrivals." "Already tried there," Thomas said, frustrated. "But someone told me there is a Martha Sutton who runs a boarding house, and my wife's maiden name was Sutton. Thought maybe she came to family." "Sutton is a common name too," Martha replied, "but you are welcome to look around if you like, though I will need to accompany you. Cannot have strange men wandering around where my female boarders are staying." "That will not be necessary," Thomas said, his jaw tight. "If you see her, tell her I am looking for her. Tell her she belongs to me and I mean to have her back." He wheeled his horse around and rode off, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake. The moment he was out of sight, Olivia collapsed to her knees, hyperventilating. Martha rushed to her side. "Breathe, child. Slow breaths. He is gone. You are safe." "He found me," Olivia gasped. "He found me, Martha. He is going to take me back." "Over my dead body," Martha said fiercely. "That man is not laying a hand on you. Come inside. We need to think about what to do." Martha helped Olivia into the house and settled her in the kitchen with a cup of strong tea. "Drink this. You are in shock." Olivia's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the cup. "I have to leave. If he is asking questions, someone will eventually tell him about me. I have to run again." "Running is not the answer," Martha said firmly. "You cannot spend your whole life fleeing from him. At some point you have to stand and fight." "Fight? How can I fight him? The law will not help me. I am his wife in the eyes of God and the government. He has every right to take me back. Maybe in Philadelphia, but this is Nebraska territory. Things work a little different out here." Martha's eyes gleamed with determination. "And you have friends now, child. People who care about you and will stand between you and that monster, starting with Cole Mitchell." "I cannot ask Cole to risk himself for me." "You are not asking. I am telling him." Martha stood and grabbed her shawl. "You stay here. Lock the doors. I am going to get help." Before Olivia could protest, Martha was out the door and heading toward the center of town. Olivia sat in the kitchen, fighting waves of panic. This was her worst nightmare come to life. Thomas was here in Nebraska City hunting for her. And when he found her, he would drag her back to Philadelphia and punish her for leaving. She knew how his mind worked. The beatings would be worse than ever, retaliation for her defiance. She should run. She should pack her bag and catch the next stagecoach heading anywhere. But even as she thought it, she knew she could not do it. Running meant leaving Cole, leaving Martha, leaving the life she had started to build, and she was tired of running. She was tired of being afraid. Martha returned an hour later with Cole, his father William, and the town sheriff, a grizzled man in his 60s named Frank Morrison. Cole went straight to Olivia and pulled her into his arms. "Are you all right? Martha said your husband is in town." "He is looking for me," Olivia said against his chest. "He said I belong to him." "You belong to yourself," Cole said fiercely, "and I will be damned if I let him touch you." Sheriff Morrison cleared his throat. "Mrs. Sutton, I need to understand the situation here. Your husband is legally your husband." "Yes," Olivia said quietly, pulling away from Cole to face the sheriff. "We were married in Philadelphia 2 years ago. He was violent, abusive. He beat me regularly, blamed me for his anger. 6 months ago, I feared for my life and ran. I told everyone here I was a widow because I was ashamed and afraid." "Is he violent toward others or just you?" "Mostly just me when we were alone. In public, he was charming and respectable. No one believed me when I tried to tell them what he was really like." The sheriff nodded grimly. "That is usually how it goes. Men like that are cowards who hide their cruelty. But here is the problem, madam. By law, he has the right to his wife. I cannot arrest him for looking for you, and if he finds you, I cannot stop him from taking you back east. So she is defenseless." Cole demanded angrily. "I did not say that," the sheriff replied. "I said I cannot stop him legally, but there are other ways to handle this. If he threatens her, makes a scene, causes trouble, then I have cause to intervene. And if enough prominent citizens make it clear he is not welcome in Nebraska City, he might decide to leave on his own." William Mitchell stepped forward. "The Mitchell family has been here since this town was founded. We have influence. If word spreads that this man is an abuser hunting his wife, decent folks will not want to help him. They will close ranks around Olivia. There is another option, Martha said quietly. Divorce. Everyone turned to stare at her. Divorce was scandalous, almost unheard of in 1876, especially for women. But Martha met their gazes steadily. Nebraska has divorce laws, she continued. Grounds include extreme cruelty. If Olivia can prove Thomas abused her, a judge might grant her freedom. That could take months, the sheriff said. And in the meantime, if he finds her, he could drag her back to Philadelphia before the case is heard. Then we make sure he does not find her, Cole said. She stays at the ranch. We have plenty of room and there are always multiple people around. He would be a fool to try anything there. Cole, I cannot impose on your family like that, Olivia protested. You are not imposing. You are accepting protection from people who care about you. Cole took her hands in his. Please, Olivia, let us help you. You do not have to face this alone. Olivia looked around at the faces surrounding her. Cole's fierce protectiveness, William's steady resolve, Martha's determination, the sheriff's grim support. These people were ready to fight for her, to risk their own reputations and safety to keep her protected. She had never had that before. In Philadelphia, she had been alone, isolated by Thomas's manipulation. Here, she had found something she had never expected, a community, a family. All right, she said finally. I will go to the ranch, but Martha, can you help me start divorce proceedings? Already planning on it, child. I have a friend who is a lawyer in Omaha. I will write to him tonight. The sheriff nodded. In the meantime, I will spread word among my deputies to keep an eye out for this Thomas Brennan. If he makes any threatening moves, we will know about it. And Cole, you make sure someone is with Olivia at all times. Do not give him any opportunity to catch her alone. You have my word, Cole said. That evening, Olivia packed her belongings and moved out to the Mitchell Ranch. Caroline had prepared a guest room for her, a pretty space with white curtains and a view of the prairie. You stay as long as you need, Caroline said warmly. We are happy to have you, and do not worry about that man finding you out here. The hands all know to watch for strangers, and William has made it clear that anyone coming onto Mitchell property looking for you is to be turned away. You are safe here, sweetheart. Olivia settled into life on the ranch with surprising ease. Caroline put her to work helping with cooking and gardening, grateful for an extra pair of hands. Olivia found comfort in the routine of ranch life. Rising with the sun, preparing hearty meals for the hard-working men, tending the vegetable garden, mending clothes, and helping Caroline preserve food for the coming winter. Cole was never far away. He found excuses to come to the house throughout the day, checking on her, making sure she was all right. At night, he slept in the bunkhouse with the ranch hands rather than his usual room in the house, ensuring that there were more people around to keep watch. Days passed with no sign of Thomas, and Olivia began to hope that maybe he had given up and returned to Philadelphia. But Cole and his father remained vigilant, warning her not to let her guard down. 2 weeks after Olivia moved to the ranch, Martha arrived with news. My lawyer friend responded, she said, spreading papers on the kitchen table. He says you have a strong case for divorce based on cruelty. He needs a detailed statement from you describing the abuse, plus any witnesses who can testify to your injuries or behavior after the violence. I do not have witnesses, Olivia said quietly. Thomas made sure no one saw what he did to me. He was always careful to hit me where bruises would not show. But people saw changes in you, Martha countered. Your neighbors, your friends. Did anyone comment on how withdrawn you became, how frightened you seemed? Olivia thought back to her life in Philadelphia. Mrs. Henderson from next door had asked once if everything was all right. The grocer's wife had commented that Olivia seemed jumpy, nervous. Thomas's own mother had pulled Olivia aside at Christmas and said she seemed like a shadow of her former self. "Yes," she said slowly. "There were people who noticed something was wrong. Then we write to them, ask them to provide statements. It is not perfect, but it might be enough. And Olivia, you have something else now. You have me, you have the Mitchells, you have people who can testify to your state of mind when you arrived and how you have improved since leaving your husband. That speaks to the harm he caused you." Hope flickered in Olivia's chest. "You really think this could work?" "I do. It will not be easy and it will not be quick, but I believe we can win your freedom." Over the next few days, Olivia painstakingly wrote out her statement, detailing 2 years of abuse. It was agonizing to put it all into words, to relive each blow, each cruel word, each time Thomas had made her feel worthless and broken. Cole sat with her while she wrote, not reading over her shoulder but simply being present, offering his quiet support. When she finally finished, she felt drained but also strangely liberated. She had spoken her truth, given voice to the suffering she had endured in silence for so long. Whatever happened next, she had refused to let Thomas's cruelty remain hidden. Martha sent the statement to her lawyer friend, along with letters requesting statements from people who had known Olivia in Philadelphia. Now, all they could do was wait, and hope Thomas did not find her before the legal process played out. The answer to that hope came 3 days later, when one of the ranch hands came galloping up to the house in the middle of the afternoon. "Boss," he yelled. "Stranger on the property, heading this way. Matches the description of that fellow from Philadelphia." William and Cole both grabbed rifles and headed outside. Caroline quickly moved Olivia away from the windows. "Stay in the house," she ordered. "Do not go outside no matter what you hear." Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs as she heard shouting from the yard. She recognized Thomas's voice, raised in anger. "I know she is here. Give me my wife." "You are trespassing on private property," William's voice, calm but firm. "You need to leave now or I will have the sheriff arrest you. She belongs to me. The law says she is mine." "The law also says I can shoot trespassers who refuse to leave my land," William replied. "And I am mighty close to exercising that right. Now get off my property." There was more shouting, more threats, but eventually Olivia heard the sound of hoofbeats fading away. She sagged against the wall, shaking. He knew where she was now. He would keep coming back. She would never be free. Cole came into the house a few minutes later, his face grim. "He is gone for now, but he will be back. He is determined." "I know." Olivia wrapped her arms around herself. "Maybe I should just go with him. At least then no one else would be in danger because of me." "Do not you dare," Cole said fiercely, gripping her shoulders. "Do not you dare surrender to that monster. You are worth fighting for, Olivia. Your freedom, your life, your happiness, they are all worth fighting for, and we will fight as long as it takes. But what if someone gets hurt? What if he brings a gun next time? I could not bear it if something happened to you or your family because of me." Cole pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Nothing is going to happen. We are prepared and we are not alone. The sheriff knows what is happening. Other ranchers know. The whole town knows by now that Thomas Brennan is here trying to terrorize his wife. Public opinion is on your side, Olivia. That means something out here." "I am so tired of being afraid," she whispered against his chest. "I thought coming west would mean freedom, but I brought my prison with me. No, Thomas is the prison, not you. And we are going to break you out of it, I promise." The next day, Sheriff Morrison arrived at the ranch with news. "Filed a restraining order against Thomas Brennan," he announced. "Judge signed it this morning. If he comes onto Mitchell property again or approaches Mrs. Sutton anywhere in town, I can arrest him. It is not a perfect solution, but it is something." "How did you get a judge to sign that so quickly?" William asked, surprised. The sheriff allowed himself a small smile. Turns out Judge Patterson's daughter left an abusive husband 2 years ago. He has no patience for men who beat women. When I explained the situation, he signed the order immediately and said if Thomas gives us any trouble, he will personally see to it that the man regrets ever coming to Nebraska. Olivia felt tears of gratitude well up. Thank you, Sheriff. Just doing my job, madam, and making sure justice is served, which is not always the same thing as following the letter of the law. Armed with the restraining order, Olivia felt marginally safer. But she still did not venture into town, staying close to the ranch house where there were always people around. She threw herself into work, helping Caroline with the fall harvest from the garden, learning to make preserves and pickles, preparing for the coming winter. Cole continued his courtship despite the unusual circumstances. They would walk together in the evenings, staying close to the house, talking about their dreams for the future. Cole spoke of expanding the ranch, breeding better horses, maybe starting a horse training business on the side. Olivia found herself imagining a future where she was free to pursue such dreams with him, where the shadow of Thomas no longer darkened her days. One crisp September evening, they sat on the porch swing watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Cole had his arm around Olivia's shoulders, and she leaned into his warmth, feeling safe and content despite everything. I have been thinking, Cole said quietly. Once your divorce is final, once you are truly free, I want to marry you. Properly, with a ceremony and a celebration and all the trimmings. I want the whole world to know that you are mine and I am yours. Olivia's breath caught. Cole, I know it is not the most romantic proposal, sitting here under these circumstances. But I need you to know that I am committed to this, to us. Whatever happens with Thomas, whatever the courts decide, I am not going anywhere. I am going to be right here, fighting for our future. Olivia turned to look at him, this man who had shown her that love could be gentle, patient, healing. I love you, she said, the words finally coming freely. I did not think I would ever be able to say that again, to feel it again, but I do. I love you, Cole Mitchell, and I want that future with you more than anything. Cole kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Then we will make it happen. However long it takes, whatever obstacles we have to overcome, we will get there. I promise you that. In late October, Martha arrived at the ranch with a package of papers from her lawyer friend. Statements from Philadelphia, she announced. Mrs. Henderson wrote about hearing screams from your apartment and seeing you with bruises you tried to hide. The grocer's wife confirmed you became increasingly withdrawn and fearful. And this is the important one, Thomas's mother. Eleanor, Olivia gasped. She wrote a statement, she did. And it is damning. She says her son has a violent temper that he inherited from his father, that she witnessed emotional abuse during family gatherings, and that she feared for your safety. She says she tried to speak to Thomas about his behavior, but he refused to listen. She is willing to testify in court if needed. Olivia's hands shook as she read Eleanor Brennan's statement. Her former mother-in-law had been cold and distant during the marriage, and Olivia had assumed she took her son's side in everything. To discover that Eleanor had seen the truth, had recognized her son's cruelty even if she had been powerless to stop it, was both validating and heartbreaking. With these statements, my lawyer says your case is very strong, Martha continued. He is filing the divorce petition this week. There will be a hearing, probably sometime in December. You will have to testify, tell your story to the judge. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Olivia said firmly. I am ready to face this, to face him if necessary. I want my freedom and I am willing to fight for it. The hearing was scheduled for December 15th in the county courthouse. As the date approached, Olivia felt both terrified and determined. She would have to see Thomas again, would have to recount the worst moments of their marriage in front of strangers. But it was the price of freedom, and she was willing to pay it. Cole insisted on accompanying her to the courthouse, along with Martha, William, and Caroline. "You will have people who love you on your side," he said. "You will not face this alone." The morning of the hearing dawned cold and clear, with frost glittering on the brown prairie grass. Olivia dressed carefully in her best dress, wanting to look respectable and composed. Her hands shook as she pinned her hair, but her resolve held firm. The courthouse was a modest wooden building in the center of town. Judge Patterson presided, a stern-looking man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Thomas sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with a lawyer he had hired from Omaha. When Olivia entered, his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. But she lifted her chin and refused to look away. She would not show him fear anymore. Martha's lawyer friend, Mr. Samuel Reynolds, presented Olivia's case. He read her statement aloud, detailing the pattern of abuse. Thomas's face reddened with anger, but his lawyer kept him seated. Mr. Reynolds then presented the statements from Philadelphia, building a picture of systematic cruelty and control. Thomas's lawyer argued that Olivia was an ungrateful wife who had abandoned her sacred vows, that there was no proof of abuse, only accusations and hearsay. He painted Thomas as a wronged husband whose wayward wife had fled west to escape her responsibilities. Then it was time for testimony. Olivia took the stand, swore to tell the truth, and faced the judge. "Mrs. Brennan," Judge Patterson said gently, "in your own words, tell me why you left your husband." Olivia took a deep breath and began to speak. She told him about the first time Thomas hit her, 3 months after their wedding, when he came home drunk and angry about something at work. She described how he apologized the next day, swore it would never happen again, and she had believed him. She told about the pattern that emerged. Periods of calm followed by eruptions of violence, always followed by apologies and promises to change that never materialized. She spoke about the fear that had colored every moment of her life, never knowing what would set him off. About how he isolated her from friends and family, controlling every aspect of her existence. About the night he held a knife to her throat and told her he would kill her if she ever tried to leave. "That was when I knew I had to run," she said, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "Because I realized that if I stayed, he would eventually kill me. And I wanted to live. I wanted a chance at a real life, not this half-existence of fear and pain." "And have you found that life here in Nebraska?" the judge asked. "I have," Olivia said. "I have found kindness and safety. I have found people who showed me that not all men are cruel, that love does not have to mean pain. I have found hope, Your Honor. And I am asking you to give me the legal freedom to embrace that hope fully." Thomas's lawyer cross-examined her, trying to poke holes in her story, suggesting she was exaggerating or lying. But Olivia held firm, answering each question with quiet dignity. She was not the broken woman Thomas had tried to create. She had found her strength again, and no amount of legal maneuvering could take that away from her. Thomas himself took the stand, denying all allegations of abuse. He claimed Olivia was unstable, prone to hysteria, that she had manufactured these accusations to justify abandoning her marriage. He painted himself as the victim, a hard-working man whose wife had betrayed him. But when Mr. Reynolds cross-examined him, cracks appeared in his facade. Under pressure, Thomas's temper flared. He began ranting about how Olivia had belonged to him, how she had no right to leave, how wives were meant to submit to their husbands. His lawyer tried to quiet him, but Thomas had lost control, revealing the rage that Olivia knew so well. Judge Patterson watched this display with narrowed eyes. When Thomas finally stopped talking, the judge said coldly, "I have heard enough. Mr. Brennan, your own words have condemned you." A man who speaks of his wife as property, who believes he has the right to control another human being through fear and violence, is exactly the kind of man our divorce laws were designed to protect women from. Mrs. Brennan, your petition for divorce is granted on the grounds of extreme cruelty. You are free from this marriage, effective immediately. The courtroom erupted in noise. Thomas shouted protests while his lawyer tried to calm him. Martha and Caroline hugged Olivia, who was sobbing with relief. Cole stood nearby, his eyes shining with emotion. She was free. After 2 years of captivity and 6 months of running, she was finally, legally free. Judge Patterson banged his gavel for silence. "Mr. Brennan, I am also issuing a permanent restraining order. You are to have no contact with Mrs. Sutton, as she will now be known for the rest of your natural life. If you violate this order, you will be arrested and jailed. Do you understand?" Thomas glared at the judge with pure hatred but nodded curtly. His lawyer hustled him out of the courtroom before he could say anything else to damage his position further. Sheriff Morrison approached Olivia. "I will personally escort Mr. Brennan to the stage depot and make sure he gets on the first coach heading east. You will not have to worry about him anymore, madam." "Thank you," Olivia managed through her tears. "Thank you all so much." They celebrated that night at the ranch with a special supper. Caroline cooked all of Olivia's favorite foods, and even Cameron broke out his fiddle to play music. The ranch hands joined them, offering congratulations and toasts to Olivia's freedom. As the evening wore on, Cole drew Olivia outside onto the porch. The December night was cold but clear, with stars scattered across the black sky like diamonds. "You did it," he said softly. "You fought for yourself and won." "We did it," Olivia corrected. "I never could have managed this without you, without your family, without Martha. I have learned that strength is not just about standing alone. Sometimes it is about accepting help from people who care about you." Cole pulled a small box from his pocket and dropped to one knee. Olivia's breath caught as he opened it to reveal a simple gold band. "Olivia Sutton, you are the strongest, bravest, most remarkable woman I have ever known. You have taught me that love is not about possession or control, but about cherishing and supporting. You have healed parts of my heart I did not know needed healing. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life showing you every day that love can be gentle and kind and safe?" "Yes," Olivia said through happy tears. "Yes, Cole, I will marry you." He slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that was both tender and passionate. When they pulled apart, Olivia was laughing and crying at once. "I thought I would never feel this way," she said. "I thought love had ruined me, broken me beyond repair. But you showed me that I was never broken. I was just hurt, and hurt can heal. You helped me heal, Cole." "We healed each other," Cole said, resting his forehead against hers. "Because loving you has taught me patience and compassion in ways I never understood before. You have made me a better man." They were married in March of 1877, exactly 1 year after Olivia had arrived in Nebraska City. The ceremony took place in the small church in town, with Martha and the entire Mitchell family in attendance, along with what seemed like half the population of Nebraska City. Word had spread about Olivia's courage in leaving her abusive husband and fighting for her freedom, and she had become something of a local hero to women facing similar situations. Olivia wore a simple white dress that Caroline had helped her make, with wildflowers in her hair. She walked down the aisle without anyone giving her away, a symbol of her independence and the fact that she belonged to no one but herself. Cole waited at the altar in his best suit, his eyes shining with love and pride. The Reverend spoke about the true nature of marriage, partnership, mutual respect, and love that builds up rather than tears down. When it came time for vows, Cole and Olivia had written their own. "I promise to cherish you, not control you," Cole said. "To support your dreams, not diminish them. To be your partner in all things, your shelter in storms, and your companion in joy. I promise to love you with patience and kindness, today and every day for the rest of our lives. I promise to trust you, even when fear tries to steal that trust away," Olivia said. "To build a life with you based on honesty and respect. To be your partner, your friend, and your love. You showed me that love can heal, and I promise to honor that gift every day. I choose you, Cole Mitchell, freely and joyfully, today and always." When the Reverend pronounced them husband and wife, the church erupted in applause. Cole kissed Olivia tenderly, and she felt something inside her finally settle into place. She was home, not just in Nebraska City or at the Mitchell Ranch, but here in Cole's arms. This was where she belonged. The reception was held at the ranch, with tables set up in the yard and enough food to feed an army. There was music and dancing, laughter and celebration. Olivia danced with Cole, with William, with Cameron, with every man who asked politely. She no longer flinched from friendly touches or kind gestures. She had learned to distinguish between love and control, between gentleness and manipulation. As evening fell and guests began to depart, Cole and Olivia slipped away to the small house that William had built for them on the far edge of the ranch property. It was a wedding gift, a place for them to build their life together. The house was modest but sturdy, with 2 bedrooms, a parlor, a kitchen, and a wide porch that overlooked the prairie. Inside, a fire burned cheerfully in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Cole carried Olivia over the threshold, and they both laughed at the tradition. "Welcome home, Mrs. Mitchell," Cole said, setting her gently on her feet. "Home," Olivia repeated, savoring the word. "I like the sound of that." That night, their wedding night, Olivia discovered yet another way that love could be healing. Cole was patient and gentle, taking his time, making sure she felt safe and cherished every moment. There was no pain, no fear, only tenderness and growing passion. Afterward, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Olivia cried tears of joy. "What is wrong?" Cole asked, concerned. "Nothing is wrong," Olivia assured him. "Everything is right. For the first time in my life, everything is exactly right. I just never imagined I could feel this way, this safe and loved and whole." Cole held her close. "You are whole, Olivia. You always were. You just needed time and space to remember that truth. And I will spend every day of our lives reminding you of how extraordinary you are." The seasons turned, and Olivia and Cole settled into married life. Olivia continued to help Caroline with the main ranch house while also keeping her own home. She started a vegetable garden that flourished under her care. She learned to ride horses properly, losing her fear of the animals under Cole's patient instruction. She even began helping him with training young horses, discovering she had a natural gift for working with the high-strung creatures. In the summer of 1877, Martha received a letter from Philadelphia. Thomas had been arrested for attacking another woman, a young widow he had been courting. Eleanor Brennan had testified against her own son, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Martha shared the news with Olivia carefully, unsure how she would react. "Good," Olivia said firmly. "I hope that woman heals and finds the same freedom I found. And I hope Thomas learns that his actions have consequences, though I doubt he will. Men like him rarely change. Are you all right?" Martha asked. "I know hearing his name must stir up difficult memories." "It does," Olivia admitted. But they are just memories now, not my present reality. I have built a new life, a good life. Thomas cannot touch me anymore, not legally and not emotionally. I have let him go, and it was true. The nightmares that had plagued Olivia for months had faded. She no longer jumped at sudden sounds or flinched when Cole moved too quickly. She had learned to trust her instincts again, to trust that Cole's love was real and lasting and safe. She had healed. In the spring of 1878, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. The news brought both joy and fear. She worried about bringing a child into the world, worried about being a good mother when her own experience with love had been so twisted. But Cole was ecstatic, already making plans for a cradle and a larger house. "We will be wonderful parents," he assured her. "We will teach our child about real love, about kindness and respect. We will show them what a healthy relationship looks like." Caroline was equally thrilled, already knitting baby clothes and offering advice. Martha declared she would be the most devoted great-aunt Nebraska had ever seen. Even William and Cameron expressed their excitement, with Cameron joking that it was about time the ranch had another young Mitchell to carry on the family name. As Olivia's belly grew, so did her confidence. She attended quilting circles with other women in town, no longer the quiet, withdrawn woman who had arrived 2 years earlier. She shared her story freely when asked, hoping her experience might help other women find the courage to leave dangerous situations. She became an advocate, working with Martha and several other women to establish a safe house in Nebraska City for women fleeing violence. On a snowy December night in 1878, Olivia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The labor was long and difficult, but Cole stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand and encouraging her. When the baby finally arrived, squalling and red-faced, Olivia looked at her son and felt a love so fierce it took her breath away. "What should we name him?" Cole asked, cradling the baby with surprising skill. "Daniel," Olivia said. "It means God is my judge. I want him to grow up knowing that no man has the right to judge or control another person, that only God can judge, and God's judgment is always tempered with mercy." "Daniel Mitchell," Cole said, trying out the name. "It suits him. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the world, son." The years passed in a blur of happiness. Daniel grew into a sturdy, cheerful child with his father's blue eyes and his mother's dark hair. In 1880, Olivia gave birth to a daughter they named Grace, for the grace that had brought Olivia to Nebraska and into Cole's life. 2 years later came another son, Samuel, named after Martha's lawyer friend who had helped secure Olivia's divorce. The Mitchell Ranch prospered. Cole's horse training business became well known throughout the territory, attracting buyers from as far away as Kansas City. Olivia's garden expanded into a small market operation, selling vegetables and preserves to stores in Nebraska City. Together, they built a life of purpose and meaning. Cameron eventually married a schoolteacher from Omaha, and they settled on a portion of the ranch that William deeded to them. William and Caroline aged gracefully, delighting in their grandchildren and the legacy they had built. Martha continued running her boarding house, always keeping a room available for women in need of a safe haven. One warm evening in the summer of 1885, Olivia sat on the porch of their expanded house, watching Daniel and Grace chase fireflies while baby Samuel napped in her lap. Cole sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders, both of them content in the comfortable silence of long partnership. "You ever think about Philadelphia?" Cole asked. "About the life you left behind?" "Sometimes," Olivia admitted, "but not with longing, just with gratitude for where it led me. If I had not fled to Nebraska, I would never have found you. I would never have learned what real love looks like. In a strange way, even the worst experience of my life led to the best. You are remarkable, you know that, Cole said. You took pain and transformed it into wisdom. You took fear and transformed it into courage. You took brokenness and transformed it into healing, not just for yourself but for everyone you touch. I had help, Olivia said, turning to kiss him softly. I had you, showing me every day that love is supposed to be gentle. That it is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down. You healed me, Cole. No, Cole said firmly. You healed yourself. I just loved you while you did it. Daniel came running up to the porch, holding a firefly cupped carefully in his hands. Look, Mama, I caught one. Very good, sweetheart. Now let it go so it can find its family. Daniel opened his hands and the firefly flew away, winking in the darkness. Grace scrambled up beside Olivia, demanding a story before bed. Cole took Samuel from Olivia's arms, cradling his youngest son with practiced ease. As they all moved inside for the evening routine, Olivia paused at the doorway and looked back at the prairie stretching endlessly under the starlit sky. She had arrived in Nebraska City believing that love was painful, that it was something to be feared and avoided. But Cole had shown her something different. He had shown her that love could heal, that it could mend broken places and give hope where there had been only despair. She was no longer that frightened woman who stepped off the stagecoach with nothing but a carpetbag and hidden scars. She was Olivia Mitchell, wife, mother, friend, advocate. She was strong. She was whole. She was healed. And it had all begun with a cowboy who caught her when she stumbled and showed her through patient, steadfast love that she deserved kindness, that she deserved happiness, that she deserved to be cherished. Inside the house, Cole was already starting a bedtime story for the children, his voice warm and animated. Olivia smiled and closed the door behind her, sealing out the night and sealing in the love and laughter of her family. This was her life now, full of joy, full of purpose, full of the kind of love that healed instead of harmed. The years continued their steady march. The children grew tall and strong, raised with the kind of love and security that allowed them to flourish. Daniel developed his father's skill with horses and his mother's compassion for wounded creatures. Grace inherited Olivia's intelligence and determination, declaring at age 10 that she intended to become a doctor like her grandfather had been. Samuel was still young but showed signs of his grandfather William's steady leadership. In 1890, Nebraska achieved statehood, and the entire Mitchell family celebrated the milestone. The wild frontier they had known was gradually giving way to civilization, though the spirit of resilience and independence remained. Nebraska City grew and prospered, becoming a hub of commerce and culture. Olivia's safe house project had expanded beyond her wildest dreams. With support from Martha, Caroline, and several other prominent women in town, they had established a network of safe homes throughout eastern Nebraska. Women fleeing violence could find shelter, support, and help starting new lives. Olivia trained volunteers on how to recognize signs of abuse and how to help survivors heal. She spoke at churches and community gatherings, sharing her story in hopes of changing hearts and minds. One afternoon in the autumn of 1892, a young woman arrived at Olivia's door. She was bruised and frightened, carrying only a small bundle of belongings. Olivia recognized that look, the hunted expression, the way the woman kept glancing over her shoulder. "Come in," Olivia said gently. "You are safe here. What is your name, Elizabeth?" the woman whispered. "I heard you help women like me, women running from husbands who hurt them." "I do," Olivia confirmed. "Because I was once where you are now. I understand your fear, and I promise you there is hope on the other side of this darkness. Let me help you find it." She settled Elizabeth in a guest room, brought her food and clean clothes, and simply sat with her as the young woman cried out her pain and fear. It was like looking into a mirror of the past, seeing her own younger self in Elizabeth's tears. But Olivia also saw potential for healing, for transformation, for a new life built on foundations of dignity and self-worth. Cole found Olivia that evening sitting on their porch, lost in thought. "Elizabeth is settling in all right, she will be," Olivia said. "She reminds me of myself when I first arrived here, so broken, so convinced that she was worthless, but she is not. She just needs time to remember her own strength." Cole sat beside her, taking her hand. "You do important work, Olivia. You save lives. We save lives," she corrected. "None of this would be possible without your support, without your family's support. William donated the building for the safe house. Cameron helps transport women who need to relocate. Your mother runs fundraisers to keep us financially stable. This is a family effort." "Ma would say we are simply following your example," Cole said. "You showed us that healing is possible, that courage can transform lives. We are just helping spread that message." As twilight deepened into night, they sat together in comfortable silence, watching stars emerge one by one. Olivia thought about the journey that had brought her here, from the depths of abuse and despair to this moment of peace and purpose. It had not been easy. There had been setbacks and hard days, moments when the past tried to drag her back into darkness. But she had persevered, supported by love and community and her own determination to create a better life. The seasons turned yet again. In 1895, Daniel married a rancher's daughter from a neighboring county, a strong young woman named Sarah who shared his love of horses. The wedding was a joyous occasion, bringing together friends and family from across the region. Watching her son exchange vows with his bride, Olivia thought about how different his understanding of love was from what she had known at his age. Daniel had grown up seeing healthy partnership modeled by his parents. He knew that love meant respect, communication, and mutual support. He would be a good husband because he had learned from a good father. Grace, now 17 and as headstrong as ever, was indeed pursuing medical training. She had been accepted to a women's medical college in Omaha and would leave in the fall. Olivia felt both proud and melancholy about her daughter's departure, but she knew Grace would make an excellent doctor. She had grown up watching her mother help heal both physical and emotional wounds. She understood that medicine was about more than just treating symptoms. It was about healing the whole person. Samuel, at 13, was still finding his path. He loved the ranch but also showed interest in law and politics. Cameron had taken the boy under his wing, teaching him about land rights and water access, the legal issues that affected ranchers in the growing state. Olivia suspected Samuel might become the lawyer or politician the family had never had, using his voice to advocate for justice. In 1897, on a spring day 21 years after Olivia's arrival in Nebraska City, Martha passed away peacefully in her sleep. She was 73 years old and had lived a full, purposeful life. The entire town turned out for her funeral, testament to the impact she had made through her kindness and support of women in need. Olivia grieved deeply for the aunt, who had given her a second chance at life. But she also celebrated Martha's legacy, which lived on through the countless women she had helped and the safe house network that bore her name. At the funeral, Olivia spoke about Martha's courage in standing up for vulnerable women at a time when few people were willing to do so. "My aunt taught me that family is not just about blood," Olivia said through her tears. "It is about who stands beside you when you need them most. She stood beside me when I was broken and afraid. She helped me find my strength again, and she did the same for so many others." Her legacy is not just in the buildings we have established or the programs we run. It is in every woman who found safety and healing, who went on to build a good life. That is how we honor her memory, by continuing the work she started. Cole stood beside Olivia, his hair now touched with gray at the temples, but his blue eyes still as kind and steady as ever. Their children surrounded them, along with their new daughter-in-law and William and Caroline, who had both aged gracefully into their 70s. They were a family bound not just by blood, but by love and shared values. They were Martha's legacy as much as Olivia's. After the funeral, Olivia took over full management of the Martha Sutton Safe Haven, as the organization had been officially named. The network now included 12 safe houses across Nebraska, with plans to expand into neighboring states. Olivia worked with state legislators to strengthen laws protecting women from domestic violence. She trained nurses and doctors to recognize signs of abuse and provide appropriate care. She created employment programs to help survivors gain financial independence. The work was exhausting but deeply fulfilling. Each woman she helped represented a victory against the cruelty and control that had once defined Olivia's own life. Each success story was proof that healing was possible, that love did not have to mean pain. In the summer of 1900, as the new century dawned, the Mitchell family gathered at the ranch for a celebration. It was Cole and Olivia's 23rd wedding anniversary, and their children had planned a surprise party. Friends and family filled the expanded house and spilled out onto the porches and yard. There was music and dancing, food and laughter. As evening fell, Cole pulled Olivia away from the crowd and led her to their favorite spot, a small rise overlooking the prairie. The grass rippled in the breeze like waves on an ocean. The sky was painted in shades of gold and pink and purple as the sun set. 23 years, Cole said, wrapping his arms around Olivia from behind and resting his chin on her shoulder. Can you believe it? Sometimes it feels like a lifetime, Olivia said. And sometimes it feels like yesterday that I stepped off that stagecoach, terrified and alone. You have given me a beautiful life, Cole. We have given each other a beautiful life, he corrected. I am not the same man I was before I met you, Olivia. Loving you taught me patience and compassion. Supporting you through your healing taught me what real strength looks like. Being your partner has been the greatest privilege of my life. Olivia turned in his arms to face him. At 45, she bore the marks of a life fully lived. Lines around her eyes from laughter, silver threads in her dark hair, hands roughened by work. But she had never felt more beautiful, because she knew she was loved not for her appearance but for who she was, scars and all. I love you, she said. I will never get tired of saying those words, of meaning them fully. You showed me what love was supposed to be. You healed me, Cole. You helped me heal myself. And you healed me right back, Cole said. By trusting me, by building this life with me, by showing me every day that true love is about serving each other, not controlling each other. We healed together, Olivia. That is our story. He kissed her as the sun slipped below the horizon, and Olivia felt the same flutter of joy she had felt at their first kiss all those years ago. Some things, she had learned, only grew stronger with time. Love, real love, the kind that healed and cherished and endured, was one of those things. As they walked back toward the house and their waiting family, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had arrived in Nebraska City believing love was painful, that it was something to be endured rather than celebrated. She had carried scars, both physical and emotional, convinced she was too damaged to ever find happiness. But Cole had shown her differently. Through patience and gentleness, through respect and unwavering support, he had proven that love could heal. Not because he fixed her, Olivia had done the hard work of healing herself, but because he had loved her while she healed. He had created a safe space where she could rediscover her own strength and worth. That, Olivia thought, was the true gift of their relationship. Not that Cole had rescued her, though in some ways he had, but that he had believed in her capacity to rescue herself. He had seen her strength when she could not see it. He had reflected back to her the truth of who she was. Not a victim, not broken, but a survivor with the courage to build a new life. The party continued late into the night, with grandchildren running around and old friends sharing stories. Olivia stood in the center of it all, surrounded by love and laughter, and felt profoundly grateful. She thought about the young woman she had been, stepping off that stagecoach with nothing but fear and hope in equal measure. She wished she could go back and tell that woman that everything would be all right, that the pain would fade and joy would take its root in the places where suffering had once lived. But perhaps the young woman had known, on some deep level. Perhaps that was why she had kept moving forward despite her fear, why she had accepted Martha's invitation, why she had allowed Cole into her heart despite every instinct screaming at her to run. Perhaps somewhere inside, she had known that healing was possible if she was brave enough to reach for it. In the spring of 1903, tragedy struck when William Mitchell passed away from a sudden heart attack. He was 79 and had been in good health until the end. His death shook the entire family, but they took comfort in knowing he had lived a long, full life and died peacefully on the land he loved. Cole took over full ownership of the ranch, though he ran it in partnership with Cameron. The two brothers proved to be an effective team, combining Cole's skill with horses and Cameron's business acumen. The ranch continued to prosper, adapting to the changing times while maintaining the values William had instilled in his sons. Caroline, devastated by the loss of her husband of over 50 years, moved into the main house with Cole and Olivia. She was frailer now but still sharp of mind and generous of spirit. She doted on her grandchildren and became even more involved in the safe house work, saying it gave her purpose during her grief. One afternoon, Caroline and Olivia sat together on the porch, shelling peas for supper. Caroline looked at her daughter-in-law with a gentle smile. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" Olivia asked, surprised. "For loving my son the way you do, for showing him what a true partnership looks like. William and I had a good marriage, a strong one, but we were products of our time in some ways. There were things we did not talk about, feelings we did not share. But you and Cole, you are different. You communicate, you support each other as equals. You have built something beautiful together." Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. "Cole saved my life, Caroline. Not just by offering me protection, but by showing me that I deserved kindness, that I was worth loving. I cannot imagine my life without him." "And he cannot imagine his life without you," Caroline replied. "That is how it should be. Equal partnership, mutual respect, love that builds up instead of tears down. You two have set an example for your children, for the whole community. Never underestimate the power of that example." As the seasons turned and years passed, the Mitchell family continued to grow and evolve. Daniel and Sarah had 3 children of their own, keeping the ranch house filled with the sound of young voices. Grace became a respected physician in Omaha, known for her skill and compassion. She married a fellow doctor in 1905, a kind man who supported her career and shared her passion for healing. Samuel went into law as Olivia had predicted, eventually becoming a county judge known for his fairness and particular concern for protecting vulnerable citizens. In 1910, Nebraska was celebrating its 20th year of statehood with festivals and commemorations throughout the state. As part of the celebration, the governor asked prominent citizens to share their stories of settling and building the state. Olivia was invited to speak at the main event in Lincoln, sharing her journey from frightened refugee to community leader. She stood before hundreds of people and told her story with unflinching honesty. She spoke about the abuse she had endured, about the courage it took to leave, about finding safety and healing in Nebraska. She talked about Cole and the Mitchell family, about Martha and the Safe House Network, about the community that had embraced her and given her a second chance at life. "I arrived in Nebraska believing that love was painful," she said, her voice strong and clear. "I thought love meant control and cruelty, but I was wrong. I had experienced abuse, not love. Real love, I learned, is patient and kind. It is respectful and supportive. It heals instead of harms. That is what Nebraska gave me, the chance to learn what real love looks like and the opportunity to help other women learn the same lesson. For that, I will be forever grateful." The audience gave her a standing ovation. Afterward, countless women approached her to share their own stories, to thank her for speaking out, to ask for help escaping their own dangerous situations. Olivia listened to each one, offered advice and resources, and felt the weight of responsibility and purpose. This was her calling, to be a voice for those who could not yet speak, a beacon of hope for those still trapped in darkness. Cole had accompanied her to Lincoln and waited patiently while she spoke with women late into the night. On the train ride home, he held her hand and smiled. "You were magnificent," he said. "William would have been so proud. Hell, I am so proud. Look at what you have built, Olivia. Look at the lives you have changed." "We built it together," she insisted. "I could never have done any of this without you, without your family's support." "This work is as much yours as mine." "Maybe," Cole conceded. "But you are the heart of it. You are the one who turned pain into purpose, who used your own healing to help others heal. That is all you, darling." As they approached Nebraska City, Olivia looked out the train window at the familiar landscape rolling past. The prairie stretched endlessly under a wide blue sky, dotted with farms and small towns. This was home now, fully and completely. She was no longer running from a past, but building toward a future. The years of their marriage accumulated like treasures in a vault. Shared sunrises and quiet evenings, crises weathered together, joys celebrated side by side. They grew older, their bodies bearing the marks of time and hard work, but their love only deepened. They knew each other's rhythms and moods, could communicate with a glance, finished each other's sentences. In 1915, Caroline passed away at 86, surrounded by her family. She died as she had lived, with grace and dignity, thinking of others until the end. Her final words to Olivia were, "Thank you for being the daughter of my heart." The funeral was large, testament to how many lives Caroline had touched through her kindness and generosity. Cole grieved deeply for his mother, the last of his parents to go. But he took comfort in knowing she had lived a long, purposeful life and had died knowing her family was strong and united. Olivia held him through his grief, just as he had held her through hers. That was what marriage meant, she reflected. Being there for each other through all the seasons of life, the joyful and the sorrowful alike. As they entered their 60s, Cole and Olivia gradually stepped back from the day-to-day running of the ranch and the Safe House Network. Daniel took over primary management of the ranch, with his sons learning the trade beside him. Grace, now an accomplished physician and mother of two, took over leadership of the Safe House program, bringing medical expertise and fresh energy to the work. Samuel used his legal position to strengthen protections for domestic violence survivors, passing laws that made it easier for women to obtain restraining orders and divorces. Cole and Olivia found themselves with time to simply enjoy each other's company. They took long walks across the prairie as they had in the early days of their courtship. They read books together in the evening, sitting side by side in comfortable silence. They told stories to their grandchildren, passing down family history and values. On a warm June evening in 1920, they sat on their porch watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. It was their 43rd wedding anniversary, a milestone they had celebrated earlier with a quiet dinner prepared by Grace and her family. 43 years, Olivia said wonderingly. Sometimes it feels impossible that so much time has passed, and yet I remember every moment, every season we have shared. Best 43 years of my life, Cole said, his hand clasped firmly in hers. His hair was white now, his face deeply lined, but his blue eyes still held the same kindness that had first captured Olivia's heart. And I would live them all again exactly the same way, just to end up right here with you. Even the hard parts, Olivia asked. Even fighting to keep me safe from Thomas, dealing with all my fears and scars. Especially those parts, Cole said firmly. Because those were the moments that proved what we were capable of together. Those were the moments that showed us love is not just about the easy times. It is about standing together when things are difficult, about choosing each other again and again. That is what makes love real. Olivia leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. You healed me, she said softly. I know you hate when I say that, you always insist I healed myself. But Cole, you gave me the space and safety to heal. You showed me what I was worthy of. That gift changed everything. And you healed me right back, Cole replied, kissing the top of her head. You taught me that strength comes in many forms. That vulnerability is not weakness. That real love means being willing to be changed by the person you love. We healed each other, Olivia. That is the truth of our story. They sat in companionable silence as stars began to appear in the darkening sky, one by one, like promises being kept. Olivia thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From pain to healing, from fear to courage, from isolation to community. It had not been an easy path, but it had been worth every step. She thought about all the women she had helped over the years, women who had arrived at the safe houses as broken as she had once been and left with hope in their eyes and plans for their futures. She thought about her children and grandchildren, raised with the understanding that love should never hurt, that relationships should be built on respect and partnership. She thought about the legacy she and Cole had created together, not just children and grandchildren, but a whole network of support that would continue long after they were gone. Cole, she said quietly, if I could go back and change my past, erase those years with Thomas and all the pain they caused, I do not know if I would. He pulled back to look at her in surprise. Why not? Because that pain led me here to you, to this life. It taught me what love should not be, which helped me recognize what real love looks like when I found it. It gave me the passion and purpose to help other women escape similar situations. I would not wish that suffering on anyone, but I cannot regret the path that led me to everything I hold most dear. Cole's eyes glistened with unshed tears. That is the most remarkable thing I have ever heard. You took something terrible and found meaning in it. You did not let it define you or destroy you. You used it to build something beautiful. We built something beautiful, Olivia corrected. Together, as partners, as we have always done. That is our legacy, Cole. Not just the ranch or the safe houses, but the example we set of what love can be when it is healthy and whole. We showed people that healing is possible, that you can survive terrible things and still build a joyful life. That is what I want to be remembered for. They watched the stars emerge fully, the Milky Way spreading across the sky like a river of light. Somewhere in the house behind them, they could hear their family gathering, voices raised in laughter and conversation. Multiple generations under one roof, all connected by love and shared history. "We did good, did not we?" Cole said, a statement more than a question. "We built something that will last beyond us." "We did very good," Olivia agreed. "And it all started with a cowboy who caught me when I stumbled in a general store and showed me through his patience and kindness that I was worthy of love. You saved my life that day, Cole Mitchell. You just did not know it yet. And you saved mine right back," Cole said. "By trusting me, by letting me love you, by teaching me what it means to truly cherish another person. We saved each other, Olivia. That is the miracle of true love. It heals both people equally." As the night deepened around them, they remained on the porch, holding hands and watching the vast Nebraska sky. They did not need words anymore, having long since learned to communicate in the comfortable silence of deep companionship. They simply existed together, two people who had found healing in each other's love and had spent 43 years building a life that honored that gift. In that moment, Olivia felt complete peace. She had arrived in Nebraska City believing love was painful, that it meant sacrifice and suffering and loss of self. But Cole had shown her the truth. That love, real love, the kind that endured through decades and challenges and change, was the most healing force in the universe. It did not diminish you but expanded you. It did not control you but freed you to become your fullest, truest self. That was the gift Cole had given her, and the gift she had given him in return. Together, they had proven that love could heal even the deepest wounds, that trust could be rebuilt, that joy could flourish in soil that had once grown only pain. They had shown their children and grandchildren what healthy love looked like. They had helped countless other women escape abuse and find their own healing. They had built a legacy that would ripple outward long after they were gone. As they finally rose to go inside and join their family, Cole paused and pulled Olivia into one more embrace. "I love you," he whispered against her hair. "Today, tomorrow, and every day that follows, you are the best thing that ever happened to me." "And you are the best thing that ever happened to me," Olivia replied. "You taught me that love could heal. You helped me become who I was always meant to be." "Thank you, Cole. Thank you for everything." They walked into the house together, hand in hand as they had for 43 years. Their family greeted them with smiles and hugs, pulling them into the warmth and noise of a large gathering. Olivia looked around at all these faces, people she loved and who loved her in return, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This was her life now. Not perfect, because nothing in life was perfect, but real and honest and full of love. She had survived terrible things, had traveled a long and difficult road. But she had emerged on the other side stronger, wiser, more compassionate. She had learned that healing was possible, that love could be gentle, that she deserved happiness. And she had learned it all from a cowboy with kind blue eyes who had shown her, day by day and year by year, that true love healed rather than harmed. Cole Mitchell had not fixed her. She had done the hard work of healing herself. But he had created the space where that healing could occur. He had believed in her when she could not believe in herself. He had loved her patiently while she learned to love herself again. That was the power of real love, Olivia realized. It did not rescue you from yourself. It held space for you to do the rescuing, cheering you on every step of the way. It celebrated your strength rather than exploiting your weakness. It built you up rather than tearing you down. As the evening wore on and family members began to depart, each stopping to hug Cole and Olivia and wish them well, Olivia felt a deep sense of contentment settle over her. This was what she had been searching for when she fled Philadelphia all those years ago, even though she had not known it at the time. Not just safety, though that was important. Not just freedom from abuse, though that was essential, but this: belonging, purpose, love that healed and strengthened and endured. When the last guest had gone and the house was quiet, Cole and Olivia prepared for bed. They moved through the familiar routines of 43 years together, comfortable in each other's presence. As they settled under the quilts, Cole pulled Olivia close. "Best anniversary yet," he murmured sleepily. "You say that every year," Olivia teased gently, "because it is true every year. Every year with you is better than the last." Olivia smiled in the darkness, feeling safe and loved and complete. "I love you, Cole Mitchell. Thank you for showing me that love could heal." "I love you too, Olivia Mitchell. Thank you for trusting me enough to let love heal you." They drifted off to sleep wrapped in each other's arms. Two people who had found in each other exactly what they needed: patient love, steady support, and the space to heal old wounds and build new dreams. Their story was not about one person rescuing another. It was about two people choosing to walk together through both darkness and light, healing each other through the simple power of steadfast, honest love. And as the stars wheeled overhead and the prairie wind whispered through the grass, their legacy continued to spread outward in ripples they could not fully measure. Women found courage because Olivia had been courageous. Men learned gentleness because Cole had been gentle. Children grew up understanding that love should never hurt because they had seen what healthy love looked like. This was the true miracle of Cole and Olivia's love story. Not that a cowboy had saved a damaged woman, but that two people had chosen to heal together, creating in the process something far greater than either could have built alone. They had transformed pain into purpose, fear into courage, and brokenness into wholeness. They had proven that love, when it was real and healthy and true, was indeed the most powerful healing force in existence. And that healing, once begun, never truly ended. It continued forward through generations, through the lives they had touched, through the example they had set. Cole and Olivia's love story became part of the fabric of Nebraska City, whispered about in hopeful tones by women leaving abusive situations, held up as an ideal by those seeking true partnership, celebrated as proof that healing was always possible for those brave enough to reach for it. In the end, that was their legacy. Not just buildings or programs or even children and grandchildren, but the living proof that love could heal. That a woman who arrived believing love was painful could find in a patient cowboy's arms the space to rediscover her own strength. That the gentleness of one person could help heal the wounds inflicted by another. That trust, once broken, could be rebuilt with time and care. They had shown the world that true love did not mean possession or control, but partnership and respect. That it built up rather than tore down. That it healed rather than harmed. And in doing so, they had changed not just their own lives but the lives of countless others who came after them, all seeking the same truth Cole had shown Olivia on that spring day in 1876, when he first caught her as she stumbled. That she was worthy of gentle love, that healing was possible, and that the future could be bright even when the past was dark. This was their story, and it would echo forward long after they were gone, a testament to the transformative power of patient, healing love.